All right, so I want to go over a couple of the problems on your homework. And so for number 15, the directions say find the first 5 terms and the explicit formula. So to find the explicit formula, which is a sub n equals d times n minus 1 plus a sub 1, I need to know the parameters d and a sub 1. Currently, I do know d, but I need to calculate a sub 1. So to do that, I'm going to take the explicit formula and I'm going to plug in what I do know. So for this problem, I know that d is negative 1.1. So I'm going to replace that in for d. And I also know a sub 38 is 53.2. 38, the little subscript number, that is n, and 53.2 is the a sub n value. So for a sub n, I'm going to replace it with 53.2, and for n, I'm going to replace it with 38. So what that's going to give me is 53.2 equals negative 1.1 times 38 minus 1. And then I have plus a sub 1 at the end, which is good because that is going to be what I need to calculate in order to write the explicit formula. So doing a little bit of math here, I get 53.2 equals negative 1.1 times 37 plus a sub 1. And then I'm going to have to multiply negative 1.1 times 37, and that's going to give me 40.7. So 53.2 is equal to negative 40.7 plus a sub 1. And then to solve, I'm going to add 40.7 to both sides so that I can find a sub 1. And I get that a sub 1 is equal to negative 12.5. Sorry, I wrote this was positive 53.2, but it was in fact negative. So that's why I'm getting negative 12.5. So they want me to write the explicit rule. So that's going to be a sub n equals d times n minus 1 plus a sub 1. So all I did was plug in the d value that I know and the a sub 1 value I just found. They also want me to write the first 5 terms of the sequence. So to do that, I'm going to start at negative 12.5, which is my first term. And then I'm going to subtract 1.1 4 times to get the next 4 terms. So negative 13.6 comes next, then negative 14.7, then negative 15.8, and finally I'm going to get negative 16.9. So that's how we do number 15. When we don't know a sub 1, we plug in to find it, and then we just replace the values in the explicit rule. All right, further down on page 6, they only give us 2 terms, and the directions want us to write the recursive rule. So to write the recursive rule, which is this, I need to know the 2 parameters. I need to know what d is, and I need to know what a sub 1 is. So first, I'm going to find d. I'm going to do that by turning this problem into a table with the n in my first column and the a sub n in my second column. So like I showed you on the last slide, 18 is n, 3,362 is a sub n. Here, 38 is n, and 2,362 is a sub n. So in my table, I'm going to write 18 matched with 3,362, and then 38 matched with 2,362. The reason I'm going to do this is because the common difference is essentially the rate of change. So if I have it in the table, I can see that a sub n went up by 4,000 and n went up by 20. So my rate of change, or my common difference, is 4,000 divided by 20, which is going to be 200. Then from there, I'm going to find a sub 1 the same way I did in the last problem. So I'm going to take my formula, a sub n equals d times n minus 1 plus a sub 1. I always use the explicit rule. So even though this question wants me to write the recursive rule, to find a sub 1, you always use the explicit rule. And I'm just going to pick one of the values from my table to plug in for a sub n and n. So I'm going to get 3,362 equals d, which I just calculated was 200, times 18 minus 1. And then I'm just going to do the math out again. So 3,362 is equal to 200 times 17, because 18 minus 1 is 17. Got to make sure you do PEMDAS. So 200 times 17 is 3,400 plus a sub 1. And then I just have to subtract 3,400 to get what a sub 1 is. And that gives me that a sub 1 is negative 38. So now I know what D is. I know what a sub 1 is. So to write the explicit, nope, not the explicit rule. To write the recursive rule, all I'm going to do is plug those parameters in. So a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 plus D, which is 200, comma, a sub 1 was negative 38. So that's going to be the answer to this question. Let's do one more like that. So on page 8, they want me to find D and a sub 1 again. So again, I'm going to make a table. So this first value tells me n is 3 and a sub n is 32. And then this value tells me that n is 7 and a sub n is negative 8. So to find D, I'm going to find the rate of change. A sub n went down by 40, n went up by 4, so D is negative 40 divided by 4, which is negative 10. Then to find a sub 1, I'm going to take the explicit rule. I always use the explicit rule to find a sub 1. And I'm going to plug in this first value from the table. So a sub n was 32, D I just calculated was negative 10, and n was 3. So 32 is equal to negative 10 times 2, which is negative 20. And then if I solve for a sub 1, I get that a sub 1 is 52. And that's all the directions asked for that question. They just wanted to know what D was and what a sub 1 was, not to write any specific rule. So I'm done.